Today we are continuing our week of fan-submitted true crime videos. And for this episode, we are just back across the state line into Florida. Obviously, Dothan sits right up against the Florida line, so that's why I'm back and forth across the state line. And today I'm going to be telling the story of the brutal murders of Robert and Catherine McCrae, who were murdered in their home right here in Graceful, Florida. This topic today was submitted by viewer Daryl Loftus. For this true crime story, we're going to go back in time a little bit. Back to when I was just 4 years old. My family and I, we had just relocated to Montgomery, Alabama from Phoenix City. This story goes back to January the 29th of 1989. The sleepy little town of Graceville, Florida is just your typical small town. In 1989, the town was about half its current size, had a population of about 1,000 people back then. Definitely not somewhere you would expect a horrific crime to take place. As you can see here from my drone footage, Graceville, Florida is a farming community. There's a lot of open land, and it makes it even more difficult to imagine that something like this heinous crime would happen here. Robert and Catherine McCrae were loved by many people. They had lots of friends, and they lived in this house right here, right off Florida State Route 2, right across the Graceful line. They lived here all by themselves. Their friends and family say they had no enemies at all. As you can see by the house, they were considered to be wealthy. Who knows, could that have been why it happened? Their house pretty much looks exactly like it did in 1989. You can see here I have them side by side on the screen. They look exactly the same. Nothing has really changed at all. It was a Sunday morning, January the 29th of 1989, when two neighborhood kids who actually lived right across the street here were over this giant fence here for their property wasn't here at the time, and those kids were over here playing in this yard. While they were playing in the backyard of this mansion behind us, they stumbled across two blue and brown knit ski masks just laying on the ground. The kids were old enough to sense that something was wrong with it, so they ran back over to their house and told their parents, who called the police for a welfare check. As the sun peeked through the clouds on that overcast day, the police arrived here at the McCrae mansion to find a crime scene like nothing they had ever seen before. Inside of this sprawling mansion that you see behind me here, they found the bodies of both Robert and Catherine McCrae laying in the kitchen, dead. They had both been executed by a gunshot to the back of their head. And Catherine had also been thumb cuffed with her hands behind her back. By afternoon, this house was littered with police cars all out in front of it. The distinct blue and white police cars of Graceville, Florida. They were looking for any evidence to help them figure out what in the world happened to the McCraes. Everybody loved them. Police originally thought it was because of a robbery. Robert's wallet was missing, and a very expensive ring was missing from Catherine's hand. But the entire mansion was full of valuables, and none of it was taken. A short time later, the original team of investigators ruled out robbery because nothing else was taken. But their investigation quickly stalled. It went cold, and even now, 30 years later, it is still yet to be solved. It wasn't discovered until years later But about 8 months after the McCrae murders, another murder that is still unsolved happened in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, where the crimes matched perfectly. Right down to the couple being wealthy, killed on a Sunday, their wallet and jewelry were the only things taken. Both couples were in their 70s. The only difference was the Tuscaloosa murders, their house was set on fire afterwards. The original investigator on the McCrae murder case has now retired, but continues to work on this case to this day, trying to solve it, trying to find answers. And he has vowed not to stop until he finds out what happens or until he dies. Today, though, they still have no clue what happened to Robert and Catherine McCrae. They don't know why it happened to such a nice couple. That is it for this fan-submitted true crime episode on the McCrae murders, Robert and Catherine. Hopefully one day they will get some answers. Hopefully. It's horrible what happened. I want to thank you all for watching. I'll see you again tomorrow for another fan-submitted true crime episode. Thank you all, and I hope you have a great day. Stay safe.